It's a dangerous business going at your door. Jetfire 2012. Chapter 16. Brady's horn shimmered, and the teacup raised off his saucer to her lips. She sipped it daintily, reveling in a pleasantly warm spring day. The immaculate white tablecloth, soft pink napkins, and the gated silverware. May I serve you for your service? A voice asked her and laughed. Brady saw a young unicorn foal, her body still chubby with baby fat. White flanks bare, deep blue eyes large in her head. Violet mane and tail, however, were proudly curled in great ringlets, almost too large for her small body. Certainly, Verity said, using her magic to pass the flowery china plate. Yes, could you top me off? Like, do give me a slice of orange, please, said a voice to her right. Verity looked and saw a unicorn much advanced in her years. Her white coat seemingly slightly faded, though it still shone in the sunlight. Her body showed its straight gauntness that creeps up inevitably on all creatures in old age. There were crow's feet around her deep blue eyes. Her mane was a slightly muted purple, as was her tail, and a long line of white ran through both. She wore crystal-framed piece-days glasses, and a necklace of crystal around her neck. Her triple gemstone key mark as bright as both flanks. Oh yes, of course, Lady said. Her horn shimmered again, lifting the key tail over to the young unicorn's cup, and gently pouring the brown warm liquid. It steamed as it tumbled into her glass. I believe I would like a sandwich, darling, a voice in front of her said. When you straightened her head, Randy glanced across the table at the very large horse. Her long legs and elegant torso were carrying a much larger chair than the other three ponies. Her velvety white coat occasionally sparkled in gleams of blinding white. Her mane and tail deep violet, wound into several long ringlets that shifted in the breeze, each time making a sound like the soft chiming of a bell. A long, sharp horn raised above her head, and beneath it, above her graceful snout, the deep blue eyes glanced gently at Verity. A single star burning within the deep pupils, a pair of enormous butterfly wings, gossamer thin and swathed with all colors of the rainbow, were folded along her sides. She wore a necklace of crystal with writing on it in a strange flowing script. On each flank, a triangular arrangement of gemstones was placed, transposed in the gemstones amidst a violet starburst. Here you are, Verity said, lifting a plate of cucumber sandwiches with her magic and passing it across the table. For a moment, the four ponies sat in comfortable silence, enjoying their tea. Verity finished her cup and lowered it. If I may ask, who are you all? The other foals sit down heavy and scone. I am who you were. Old Mare set down her cup. I am who you will be. And you? Verity asked the great butterfly-winged unicorn. She set down her sandwich. I am also with you. That's not terribly straightforward, Verity said. Certainly not compared to Miss Possum out of Utah here. The unicorn smiled. I'm them as well. I am what you were, what you are, and what you will be. I am a full flowering darling, the actualization of your potential, to use Coldstone's terminology. So I could be you, Verity said. I am the you that's the most you. I am what happens when what's inside comes out. I don't understand, Verity murmured. Do wish you were clearer. If you want clarity, I suggest you look behind you, White Unicorn said. Verity turned to her chair. Something vast and shadowy rose up from the horizon. It was long, but broad. Possibly long and possibly broad, filling the sky and blotting out the sun, its long neck ending in a huge head. Suddenly, it tumbled down at her. Blah! Verity yelled as she came awake, sitting up in her futon. Fortunately, the crystal ceiling was just high enough to keep her from hitting her head. Her horns still tingled with all the magic in the air. She took a deep breath, reminding herself that it was just a dream. What an interesting dream it had been. She turned her head to her left. Applejack and Rainbow Dash were sound asleep, the former snoring gently, the latter curled up in her silk seats. Wriggling out from her own covers, Rarity crawled gently to the curtain at the bower's entrance and peeked out from below it. The woods were still lit with the golden pinpoints high above, the brightness unchanged from hours of before. The passage of time was not evident, but Rarity knew from her eternal sense that dawn was still many hours away. Nevertheless, he felt oddly rested, not tired in the least. Perhaps it was the magic in the air. Ty Sparkle once told her that Unicorn's magic circuits could send excess power be absorbed into a unicorn's mind and body, freezing them both. Whatever the reason, well, she could go back to sleep. She didn't feel she needed to. Careful to be quiet, she slid out the bower, bracing her knees for the small drop to the ground. She couldn't explain her sudden wanderlust. She'd been doing plenty of journeying on this trip already, and didn't know why she wanted more. Nevertheless, she was compelled to explore where she could. The dream had also been weighing on her mind. What had that last shadow been? For that matter, what would the ringed unicorn have been? Past and future selves seemed easy to understand, but the butterfly-winged horse defied her mind. What had she meant? She was Rarity's full flowering. She came to the edge of the sleeping area. With some hesitance, plunged into the trees. The golden light above assuring she was not in the dark. White Unicorn felt a gentle tug of magic from her right, compelling her to turn and fall to the great tall oaks to their upper branches knitted together by the network of walkways they had seen before. Abruptly, the branches hung lower, forming another tunnel like the one that led to Florida's tower. Rarity's horn pulsed, indicating great power was ahead. She lightened her footsteps, making as little noise as she could by the time she reached the tunnel's end. A great clearing, its roof high with towering branches, emerged, pale golden grass springing up around her hooves. She was not far from the shore of a moderately-sized lake. Unlike the golden tinge of surrounding foliage, the lake was a silent mirror of silver, seemingly unmoved by the general guided ambience. She could see magic rising from the water, wavering faintly like summer heat. There was a perimeter of brush and brushes around the trees before the clearing. Rarity ducked off into it to her left, hiding herself from sight. And not a moment too soon, or on the far right shore of the lake, two deer emerged. Though both bore dull gray antlers on their heads, one was thinner and narrower, clearly a doe, while the other, with more muscle and a squarer head, was clearly a buck. Ray's eyes widened when she saw the doe wearing a basket around her flanks. She was even more surprised when a tiny, narrow head peeked out from the wicker worm. It was a fawn, very young, perhaps a few days old. Everybody! Aww! The pair of older deer stopped at the lake shore, and the doe's antlers shimmered. The basket was lifted off her side and sat on the ground, and tipped gently over. The fawn crawled slowly out. Trembling in its tiny legs, it rose to its hooves, took a few steps forward, full of apprehension, then tumbled over. So you could see the doe's face filled with affection that could only be called maternal. Doe and Buck turned at an angle to face close to her direction, and Rarity worried for a moment they had seen her. Instead, her eyes widened again. Flora emerged out of the trees, antlers bare, a circlet of silver on her head. The mother and father bowed low to their approach. The golden hind nodded her head in turn. A small gathering of deer paused for a few moments, except for the fawn, but tried to stand up again. They gave it up and looked intently at the enormous shape of the newcomer. Flora lowered her head, a smile curling her lips. She very gently nuzzled the little fawn, sniffling as she did. She raised her head and spoke to the two parents. Rarity could not hear what she said, reaches she wouldn't have been able to understand the words anyway. The doe and duck then spoke. Both of them nodded. They then turned and retreated into a dozen spaces. Flora turned to her left and took a few steps, bringing her to the water's edge. She lowered her head and stepped forward again, tilted it, ducking her left antler in the lake. As she raised her head, the antler was drenched, dripping a cloud's worth of lake water. She turned back to the fawn and advanced slowly, until she was upon it. She angled her wet antler over it. The tiny deer was drizzled by the falling drops of water. Flora worked in a small circle around the fawn, keeping her dripping antler over it, letting more and more water fall upon it until it was thoroughly drenched. She reached the spot she had started from. She raised her head, her left antler shimmered. In an instant it was dry. The golden hind then lowered her head to the wet fawn. Its wide, innocent eyes stared up into the dark night skies between her eyelids. Raised its tiny head and nuzzled her, and she licked it on its left cheek, then her right, gently kissed the top of its bare head. It struck Rarity that he had triggered out something secret and private. She felt she should leave, as she didn't dare move for fear of making a sound. Floria raised her head again, spoke to the doe and buck, when it turned to feast upon her child. The buck spoke for a moment. The doe spoke next. The doe stepped up to the fawn and bent down, licked its left cheek, then its right. They kissed it on its head, just as Floria had done. Then it was the buck's turn, and he repeated the same lick, lick, kiss. Both parents looked at the golden hind. She nodded her great head. The white tails bowed in unison. When they rose, the mother's antlers shimmered for a faint orange, lifting the fawn off the ground and back into its basket, which then lifted up back onto the mother's side. Floria turned from them and began to walk away. The buck and doe turned right and headed back to whence they had come, passing through the trees and out of sight. Floria was walking in Rarity's direction. White Unicorn was doubly nervous now. Would Floria detect her? She had great magic, and of course there was a powerful long sight. She didn't want to upset Floria. Rarity cast a cloaking spell, shimmering her body out of sight. She wasn't confident it would be enough to hide her, but if the golden hind was actively looking for her, it might be sufficient. A melody wafted through her ears. Rarity realized that Floria was singing, her beautiful voice chiming with music. She sang in the flowing language, the words spiraling from her lips to a graceful song that Rarity could not understand. But it made her heart ache. She could feel the sadness in it, a gently sinking gloom settling in her chest, making the night darker, loneliness dearer, and her hat worry sharper. She continued for a few moments, slowly drawing closer to Rarity. The song gradually fading away, as she began to sing another song in another language, a language choppier with heavier syllables. Yet the song was just as sad. Indeed, perhaps, it was sadder, for the harder sounds of other languages made the dense intelligence of this new song weigh heavier on Rarity's heart. White Unicorn sniffed, and held her breath in nervousness. Had Floria heard her? The golden hind gave no indication. Walking ever closer, she turned at the bend in the clearing and continued to walk. The lake was placid as ever. She got closer to Rarity. The song in the choppy language faded away. After a moment's pause, she started another song. This one surprised Rarity, because she could understand this one. It was sung in equestrian, low and gentle. Gilgalad was an eager-looking king. Of him the harpers sadly sing. The last whose realm was fair and free, between the mountains and the sea. His horse was sharp and antlers keen, his shining helm was afar was seen. Out the stars of heaven's field were mirrored in his silver shield. But long ago he rode away, and where he dwelleth none can say. To darkness fell his star, and underworld where what shadows are. Gee, that doesn't make me think of Lord of the Rings at all! When Floria finished her song, she was right in front of Rarity. She stopped walking and turned her head to the white unicorn, cloaked and hidden in the bushes. Hello, Rarity. Startled, Rarity dropped her cloak. Visiting for a moment, she then stepped out of the bushes, feeling guilty. Forgive me, my lady, she said with nodding her head. I didn't mean to eavesdrop. I know you didn't, said the golden hind, turning to face her full. I sensed your presence when I arrived. Oh, Rarity said, feeling more ashamed, ears flattened against her head. I'm so sorry for intruding on that ceremony. I never intended to disturb you. My subjects were not aware of you. That is what matters, Floria said. A baptism is not so delicate that an onlooker's presence nullifies it. I know the dawn and dusk ceremonies your foes go through in Equestria permit observers. Having attended sleep outside at dusk, Rarity knew this. If Floria did not mind, she wouldn't trouble herself about it. And she had other questions. My lady, she began, the song you were singing just now, it was beautiful. I think so, Floria said, agreeing. So beautiful, though so sad, Rarity agreed. But I wondered, why wasn't equestrian when your other songs were not? Because Luna wrote it long ago, the Golden Hind said to Rarity's matron. She wrote it when she was still a student, taking music. It was a song of mourning, and the elders approved of it greatly. It seems to be all we dare do at this present age. She said with a sigh, mourning for what we have lost. More than 1,000 years since my instruction, I could still hear the elders' insistent refrain. Mourn, they said. Mourn always. Mourn forever. For the dear folk were once the apex of the earth. But we destroyed ourselves in greed and anger. We deserve always to mourn. And for my part, I heard them, and I mourn. Our sorry escaped eyes regarded Rarity. What do you think of that, Rarity? Rarity began slowly. Suppose I can't wrap my mind around it. We have talked very little about your war in Equestria. We know some things, to be sure, but not a great deal. If I'm asking me how being told to mourn would set with me, however, I must admit it would seem to get very tiring. No pony can be sad forever, can they? The elders can certainly seem to try, Valeria said. She turned and began to walk around the shore of the lake. Rarity fell in step beside her. Most of them are gone now. All the days I knew them, they were sad. How could they not be, living with what they had lived? How much do you know about the war, my lady? She tilted her head towards Rarity. Some. I did not live through it. I was born long after it ended. I heard the tales of it from the elders, though. I looked back into the past. She sighed. From what I have come to know, it was terrible. There was such death and destruction on a scale like nothing the world had seen since. Pray to Celestia. Pray to Luna. Pray to the wheels that draw the world that police them. Never sees anything like it. It sounds simply dreadful, Eddie agreed. It was, and so I mourn, Gloria said, as he straightened her head. Yet my whitetails do not. I am not taught them to. Really? Rarity asked. Why not? It was as you said. No creature can live their whole life in sadness. The elders could well be sad, because they were once happy, and I could not impress perpetual mourning upon my dear. Valeria's voice grew firmer. The elders saw us a dying folk, withering away until in time there would be nothing left. And it is true we have lost much. There's much to mourn over, but there's still life in us. The fawn you saw this night was one of several born this spring. If he does not come to harm, he will live for a century at least. The deer are not dead, no matter what the elders thought, and I shall not have their despair finished what the war started. So my whitetails have not been taught to mourn. Instead, I have taught them to laugh. Valeria gave a small guffaw. Well, perhaps not to that. We must maintain appearances. I have taught them to smile, though. Rarity smiled. That sounds like something my friend Pinkie Pie would say, she said. Though she would have liked you to have started singing by this point. Her mind flashed through her mind. Speaking of, those two other songs, the ones not in equestrian, I heard them in two different languages. I heard two different languages all the time I've been here. What are they? The second song was sung in the native language of the white-tailed deer. Flurry explained. The language we have had since ancient times. We take our names in that language. Even me. She smiled. I was so noisy as a fawn. My father told me I was forever cooing and babbling those who approached me. So the first part of my name means speech in native whitetail, or Savola. However, the language we use in conversation is Leitwi, which is the shared language of all deer folk. It was created to serve as common tongue when the six species decided to unite into a single civilization. The elk invented it. They were always skilled and clever and intricate things. That was the language of the first song. She suddenly craned her neck outwards. tilting her head to the right. Pardon me for a moment. She vanished on the spot. Rarity was left standing by the shore of the lake. It didn't surprise her that Valeria could teleport as well. She was enormously powerful after all. It was so convenient as a skill, and the deer made it look so easy. Far easier than it seemed when Twilight Sparkle was trying to teach her. I still wish she hadn't bothered, Rarity thought. Now that she had, however, Rarity could not feel but proud to learn the skill. It was a bit like Rainbow Dazz's obligation to learn lightning, though certainly not as dramatically induced. Still, Twilight had tried to help her. Twilight had suffered the attempt. Rarity had a duty to complete when Clear appeared at the moment. Forgive me, she said. I had to attend to something at my tower. The barrier across Ockback Mountains does not maintain itself. She saw Rarity's forlorn look. What's wrong? It's just, Rarity sighed. Your teleportation is so elegant and simple looking. I don't know if you've ever seen a unicorn teleport, but it's accompanied by a tremendous cloud of magic and sparkles. Very gaudy. And while normally I wouldn't shy for the gold, in this case it looks too pompous. I like your way much better, just solely by appearances. Do you know? Valeria asked with raised brows. Very much so. The golden eye smiled. Would you like to learn it? Rarity gasped. Me? But, oh, I would love to, but can I? Isn't it your magic? Magic is magic, Valeria said. Any creature capable of learning spells can learn any spell from any species fully. It's a matter of having enough power and enough skill. Sub-tier magic require more powerful than the average unicorn can muster, but our teleportation is very low power. As a skill, to learn our spell requires great attention to detail and strong imagination. Have you those? Yes! Randy exclaimed, bursting with excitement.